Good evening and welcome to the Concord Township Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 6, 2018. Fairly full agenda tonight. So I would like to, the first item on our agenda will be the site plan review application number 37. Mr. Jim Patek of Larson Architects on behalf of McDonald's Real Estate Company is requesting a site plan approval for the property located at 7575 Auburn Road. Is the applicant here this evening? And if you could just state your name and address for the record for us, please.
Actually, I'm stepping in for Jim Patacek.
Okay.
My name is Ken Esry, E-S-R-Y, Larson Architects. I'm here representing McDonald's this evening at 7575 Auburn Road. I'm here with the owner-operator of McDonald's, Mr. Ali Mendovi, at a wall, and the regional manager, Mr. Dave Natowski. I brought some PDF images on a thumb drive.
Okay.
All right. I'd like to start with some photos of the existing site. The center image you're looking at is an aerial photo of the site. The McDonald's restaurant is right in the center. There is the Auburn Road to the south of that, and then 44 to the north at the top of the page. You see that. The BP gas station is to the left in the image. There is a Comfort Inn hotel to the right off of that image. There are 3 driveways into the site. There are 2 halves of the site, and each half is separated by a center median, a grass median that you see right there. The right half is currently occupied by truck traffic right now. We're proposing to combine the 2 halves of this site and create many more efficiencies with that site and by doing that. And at the same time, we're proposing to provide a double lane drive-through for the restaurant. Right now there's a single lane. There are 3 driveways to the site. 2 of them are clearly visible on this image. The one is off to the right. We're proposing to keep those driveways. The one to the left, right in front of the restaurant, we're proposing to narrow that driveway and make it a right turn exit only driveway in order to better accommodate traffic on Auburn Road. So, excuse me. The surrounding images that you see around the periphery of the page are views to the site and around the McDonald's building. Up in the upper right-hand corner and down the right-hand side of the page, you'll see images of the existing McDonald's building. You'll see entrances to the site off of Auburn Road to the right on the lower right corner, and images around Auburn Road across the bottom of the page, and then back into the site near the BP gas station to the left of the left center of the page, and back up to the building again. Just context images. I'd like to go to the next page. sure how to get to the next page. Right. While we're getting to that page, we retained a landscape architect to design the landscape for the site improvements. One of the initial observations from the landscape consultants was that the existing plantings, they are overgrown for the site. They are proposing, they're causing some sightline issues to signs off of Auburn Road and also sightlines for driveway access. And one of the things that we're going to be doing as I show you the landscape for the new site is providing a new planting scheme which is not an overgrown palette of materials. Thank you.
Is it in the same PDF or a separate?
Yes. Which is more suitable to the site.
So weird. I feel like something is wrong with our laptop. Can we get that?
Yes.
Wow. I never had this happen. What's that?
Don't touch it.
I didn't even do anything. This is really weird. They do have paper copies in front of them if you have to
Okay.
refer
Yeah, we
to
do.
that.
Yeah, we do. It's
So I
okay.
don't know if you have.
Just let us know what page to go to. We're
or
fine.
have it set in front of you too.
Okay,
I'm not
I
really
do.
sure.
I do.
Okay. I don't know.
Thanks so much for your patience. All right, well, maybe I could walk you through the booklets that you do have. The second page of your booklet continues with photographs of the site, looking at views outside of the site along Auburn Road and surrounding areas. And the scale of the site is a little smaller in this view, but we're really intending to show you what the sight lines are through Auburn Road, just to orient you to the context, which you may already be familiar with. But if you go to the third page, which is titled C1 in the lower right corner, this is our proposed site plan for the modifications to the site. And as I was saying, what you'll see is that the center median in our new site plan scheme is removed, and we are combining the two halves of the site, and we are creating a double-lane drive-through which moves across the back of the site and is accessible from the far right entry off of Auburn Road. We're expanding the parking on the site from essentially 45 existing spaces right now to 74 spaces for the site, which is quite an improvement for that as well.
But no trucks?
No intended truck parking
Okay.
for the site is what we're suggesting.
So
And,
will you have signs out there indicating no truck traffic? The only reason I have a concern, a lot of trucks come off the interstate,
Okay,
and they're always looking for someplace quick to park,
okay,
and if they can get their rig in, fine. But if they can't get parking for themselves, they'll take up 15 spots of passenger cars,
okay.
and how are you guys gonna stop that?
So it may be prudent to put a sign saying
Big time.
no truck traffic then.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I see it all the time when I
Okay.
stop at fast food places, where,
Okay.
whether it's
Yeah.
truck drivers, the 18-wheelers, or the landscapers come in with all their hitches, with all their lawnmowers on the back,
Okay,
and they pull in and take half a dozen spots
okay.
to go in and eat.
That's not very nice.
It's not very nice.
Right.
That's- I thought the way you had it now with the trucks having a spot was great,
Okay.
ideal for this location.
Okay,
But if all this changes like this,
right.
I think you're gonna have some problems big time.
This layout fit the goals for the owner-operator better, but we'll add the sign saying no truck traffic. then.
How would you deter the trucks, though? I mean, once they get in there, what are they gonna do?
Sure, then, right now, the site accommodates truck traffic for deliveries to the site, deliveries of food, materials, and things like that. And the traffic pattern for truck deliveries is to come in that third driveway, that driveway that takes you directly to the double lane driveway, and veer to the left and go approach the building and pull alongside the building. So we had done truck turning radius studies that show that the size of the truck which makes these deliveries can be serviced by these radiuses. Other unfamiliar truck traffic, we hadn't accommodated for that traffic to enter the site. And those deliveries would be made during off hours as well. So as the delivery truck pulls up alongside of the building, it does park across proposed parking spaces, but since it's when the restaurant is not open, it's not impeding or obstructing anyone to make those deliveries too. Behind the, yes, sir.
If I may answer the question as well. I'm Ali Mandawi, I'm the franchisee of the location.
Could you come forward just so we can?
Sure. Just want to answer your question. Two questions in regard to the trucks. We have a different location that used to have very few truck parking area, and that's on the corner of 306 and 90, right by 84 in Mentor. And when we rebuilt that location 2 years ago, for that reason, we put a sign installed right on the post said, "No trucks, please." And I was very surprised that we did not have any trucks, none. Most truck drivers, they tend to obey the law. And so to your question, yes, they may coming in and they see the sign, they may have to keep going and turn around and get back on 44 and leave. And the word gets around very quick. The words between the truck drivers, they get around very quick that we cannot park there. So that's since we've gone through that experience, I don't see any issue with the fact that we're putting a sign there and eliminated semis coming to that line.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you'll also see, again, we're utilizing the existing driveways off of Auburn Road. The far left on the page that you see is being converted to a right turn only driveway exit onto Auburn Road. The sheet that you see in front of you also shows.
I have a quick question about
big-
that. I see that you can see you eliminated that one. You're making that one a right turn only by the way you're cutting the curves. You're making it very
Correct.
harder.
Yes.
You're still having a left turn then out of, what's, the middle drive. I mean, what's the purpose of kind of just limiting the one versus the other? I mean, you said you're trying to improve traffic flow on Auburn, but we're still having left
Right.
turners. Is the thought process, and did you do a traffic study that says that the left turn from that middle part of it's a little, is it a better sight line?
We
around
haven't
the-
done a traffic study. We're being asked by the county to do a traffic study, so we'll flush out issues
Okay.
like that, definitely.
So was there any, I guess, to put a finer point on my question is, was there any specific thought process as to how you divided up the access of these drive points, or is it just?
The main thought process was to preserve the existing curb cuts.
Okay.
With our understanding at the moment that we were utilizing the existing infrastructure and presuming to accommodate for any backup traffic patterns, with the thought that they would be spaced far apart enough to accommodate any backup traffic. We're being told by the county that it may not be far enough apart. So that's what's precipitating a traffic report that we're going to accommodate. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There's a shed and trash enclosure to the back of the site that we're expanding in order to make it more useful to the owner-operator as well. And we're preserving as much green space and landscape space as possible. I think our ratio is at about 10.1% of the paved area, which is done in accordance with the zoning code as well, too. Okay. Are there any questions about the site plan?
Just one comment.
Yes, sir.
I kind of agree with Morgan, having that a right turn only. I've come out of there many times, and I know a lot of people do turn left because of the hospital and the businesses
Okay.
on Auburn Road. And it would seem kind of confusing, people coming around through the drive-through and then
Okay.
not having to get over to the middle driveway. Just a
Okay.
comment. I mean,
Okay.
it would be easier to have it both directions there.
Okay. Thank you. Again, I'm sure it's another issue that'll come up with the traffic report as well. And we'll see more conclusive ideas with that. The following page, which is C3, is just a detail page which shows some details of the types of signs that we're adding around the expanded drive-through portion of the site. One of McDonald's programs is to improve the signs on the site and on the building with new LED technology. And these signs that you see on the bottom of the page are new LED operated digital menu boards. They're actually slightly smaller than the existing menu boards, and the clarity and quality of the lighting with those menu boards is far improved as well. You may have seen other locations where McDonald's has renovated their sites in Northeast Ohio or even across the state, and you could see the difference directly.
So is this McDonald's more of a to-go McDonald's? Because you're gonna have the 2 drive-throughs, but then you've added additional parking spaces.
Well, we understand that many of the patrons actually order in. They come and park and walk inside. We are accommodating any additional traffic with the double drive-through as well. And the double lane is intended to serve possible additional traffic, which could prevent additional stacking of cars that would otherwise be more cumulus for one lane.
Is McDonald doing this just because they're doing it nationwide, or did they do a study on this location to find out it's congested, it's not being served properly? Is that why they're doing this, or just because it's going to be a general thing?
There's been a general movement nationwide with McDonald's to renovate their sites and also to clarify and to project their branding name and branding image for now and into the future. And so that's precipitated this renovation as well as so many others that you've seen as well too. So McDonald's has put a lot of thought and effort into producing this brand, this image of renovations, and we'll take a look at the elevations of the building as well too, to go into their sites and make these improvements. It hasn't been without a whole lot of thought to do all of this, and it's been a concerted effort with McDonald's on a national level to bring this new branding image to each of their sites when possible.
Well, doing it for this location, for example, getting back to my concern about trucks, I would assume that you get a lot of probably truck traffic at this location. At least a couple times I've been there. I'm not a fast food fan, but when I have stopped, I've seen a lot of trucks there, and it seems to accommodate them. They seem to be happy, and
I see. Yes.
because of the location, I guess, and they can get in and out. Doing this, of course, would do away with that. I know you're saying you're going to stop them from going in there, but then I can see it causing maybe more problems down the road because they don't have access. You know what I mean?
Fair point, yes.
So,
Yeah,
just a comment.
okay, thank you. Okay. Well, the following two pages, which are A 2.0 and A 2.1, illustrate the renovations to the building elevations that we're proposing. On A 2.0, at the top of the page, you'll see the proposed front elevation. Overall, the color palette that we're using for the new renovations is a taupe-colored color scheme with an umber-colored plank tile at strategic locations and an aluminum-colored or white-colored canopy, and also a gray-colored canopy. We're also introducing a corrugated metal with the palette of the building too. And I brought some samples to show you.
Is the corrugated metal, is that the top screening?
Yes, it is.
So it would cover?
Yes, it's along the parapet of the building.
Parapet, that's the word.
I'll show these to you right here. This is the plank tile that you see on the branding wall, which is what we call the feature elevation. It's oriented in a horizontal orientation. It's an umber tone. We're also using a taupe color for the main field color of the building, which is the paint color of the existing block on the building. There's also an ephes product above that, which is also the same taupe color as well. And then there's a gray color, which is the color of an accent band across the building, and some of the trellis work that you see on the elevations as well, and also the color of the corrugated metal as well, the metal which is near the parapet of the building too. You'll also see that the new signs for the building, on the front of the building, you'll see the McDonald's name or word mark sign. This is an internally illuminated LED sign, slightly smaller than the existing sign that's there right now. Again, crisper lighting, more pleasing to see. You'll see the M Arch logo, which appears at two locations, at the branding walls on the front of the building and on the side entry, the non-drive-through side entry of the building as well, too. So we also have some lighting which is recessed beneath the canopies of the building, which is oriented downward, which helps to illuminate the building, and also some upward floodlighting, which grazes the sides of the building as well, too. So it'll be a really nice, new, clean look to the building.
Is the M backlit with LEDs also?
It's only internally illuminated,
Okay.
but definitely recognizable.
Right.
One of the elements of the brand image that we want to keep.
Right.
We are showing some screening of some existing rooftop air handling units. A couple of the air handling units do rise up above the parapet of the building. So we're proposing to screen those with the additional use of the corrugated metal material, which is similar to what we're already using on the parapet of the building too. So overall, we are removing the mansard look to the building, the mansard roof, changing that image entirely and going with a raised parapet. And that's one of the most distinctive elements of the new design and new branding image that we're bringing to McDonald's as a whole as well.
The actual building is not being enlarged, though.
Not
correct?
enlarged, no. Inside of the building, we're conducting renovations to the furniture and finishes, changing those. We're creating modifications to the restrooms to make those compliant with current ADA accessibility regulations. And we're also, at this location, we're renovating the kitchen too, which is the main workhorse of the building, which is actually going to be one of the most beneficial things in order to provide the best service to patrons. Are there any questions on the elevations? Any other questions?
Yes. On the, let me see what side. On the north side where you have the drive-through,
Yes.
is there any entrance into the building?
There is an entrance on that side. If you take a look at that elevation, you'll see a guardrail
Ah,
with vertical
Yeah.
stiles to it,
okay.
and that's where that elevation is. So
Okay.
we're preserving the existing elevation or entrance to that building at that point. Essentially, the building renovation is a backdrop to what we're proposing for the landscape around the building. And if you look at the next page, you'll see the plan for the landscape design.
Will this be closed during renovation, or it stays open, or how does that work?
You want to feel that? Okay.
I'm Dave Natowski, the area construction manager for McDonald's Corp. And to answer your question, we'll try to keep it open when it makes sense, but there will be times when we will have to close it, especially with the kitchen renovations inside. Obviously, we're not going to be able to operate the restaurant while we're replacing kitchen equipment. And really, what Ken was saying and what Ollie's going to be doing here, your entire building inside is basically going to at some point be gutted. It's going to get all new, state-of-the-art, a whole new seating and decor, new lobby, there'll be kiosks. And kind of to go back to what you were asking before about drive up. I think you're asking, is it going to be like a drive up? More only, no, it's the same as what we have now. We're going to be spending a lot of effort on the inside, and it's going to be entirely new, something that you'd be really pleased with. We're not, no holds barred. Again, it's going to be like somebody threw a bomb in there, blew it up, and everything's new. The floor gets ripped up, so everything's brand new. So, but yeah, it's exciting, right, Allie?
Yes. On the landscape plan, you'll see a variety of planting materials around the periphery of the page, which comprise the palette of what the landscape architect is suggesting. And we did retain a landscape consultant based on the requirements of the zoning code in order to complete this. The goals in mind with the landscape plan have been to make the outdoor space more vibrant with color and more interesting, add interest to the landscape throughout the year. So with color, with foliage and deciduous trees, adding coniferous trees and ornamental grasses and low plantings, the thought and the goal from the landscape consultant was to improve what is there already. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the existing landscaping has overgrown the site at this point. It has been sheared quite a bit to the point where it has lost some of its ornamental value, and the plantings are really essentially too large for the spaces that they're occupying right now. The new plantings being suggested are more appropriate to the size, to the sizes where they're being planted. They're intended to not become overgrown, and the yearly maintenance would be much easier to perform, to control that too. And so it'll look better throughout the year and for several years to come too. Okay. And those were essentially the goals of the site for the landscape design. The following pages that you see are more technical drawings related to the landscape design, and then technical engineering drawings related to the site plan from the civil engineer. And if there are any questions on those, we could address those as well. The final page in the booklet that you have is a lighting layout. It's a photometric lighting layout, which shows locations for new pole-mounted light fixtures. And as I said, these also are LED fixtures, new modern technology, crisper light, more attractive lighting, and more controlled lighting specifically. So all of the positions and the light levels of the pole-mounted lighting are within the guidelines of the zoning code, and we're being very careful to control the light fall off from the perimeter of the site, and also to provide adequate and pleasing lighting within the interior of the site too. And this all supplements the lighting around on the building as well, the sconce lighting that I had mentioned too.
On page C1,
Yes.
on in between the two main entrances, between the two plantings, what is that big semicircle?
That semicircle is an area of existing green space that we're removing and replacing with pavement and also an end island for the new parking lane as well. That was done in order to provide better site access around the interior of the site, and also to accommodate the amount of parking that we wanted to provide along that.
Any further questions from the board?
No.
You alluded to mention the traffic study, so I assume you reviewed the staff report have you reviewed the staff report?
Yes, we have reviewed the staff report.
So I was just wondering if you could take us through, there's a number of recommendations. So we've got two things we need to cover this evening. We've got your site plan review, and then we have a design review. So
Okay.
if we could go through, we have 8 on the site plan review, and then we've got 1 condition we need to discuss with regard to design review. So if you
Okay.
through those, I can read them off if you'd like. Or if
Okay,
you
that
wanna
would be
go-
great.
So the
And
first-
I know our civil engineer is responding to those specific items
Okay.
as well. And he's reviewed those items, and he expects no problem
Okay.
with addressing them,
Okay.
just on the
And the
surface.
first one I've got is it just seems like a labeling issue with respect to the water departments. The one I'm kind of curious about, the fire hydrants. I know that was mentioned by the fire chief, it wasn't depicted, it is.
On the landscape drawing?
Where is it? Is it?
The
located?
one that's in question is towards the back of the
Yes.
site, near the trash enclosure
Yes.
and storage shed. and that will be maintained.
Okay.
And the thought was that that area would become a fire lane if necessary, so no parking in that area. And we would post a sign saying that it is a fire lane. It would be maintained as driving space, but no parking there. If that helps.
Right, and so that was the thing, was the location,
So we kind of took a belt and suspenders approach to that area. We'll label it as a no parking fire lane, but we'll also post a sign saying that as well.
so submitting fire protection plans to the fire department's not gonna be a problem.
Not a problem at all.
Submitting plumbing plans to Lake County Health District.
No problem at all. We're actually, I've been discussing a new water connection with the Painesville Water Department.
Okay.
I understand it's the Painesville Water Department, not Lake County.
Right.
And there are two water lines currently adjacent to the site. One is along Auburn and one is behind the site. Right now, water is accessed through a connection behind the site. There's a lower pressure water line back there. Painesville Water is suggesting that we connect to the Auburn Road water line.
Okay.
There's more usable pressure. Right now, the building operates with a booster pump. We're proposing to expand the storage area inside adjacent to the kitchen. So in that regard, we would need to add additional sprinkler heads to service the building.
Right.
So we'll need more water pressure. And Painesville is also saying, well, in any event, we can no longer use a booster pump.
Okay.
They don't provide it. So
Okay.
we're already in those conversations, if that helps.
And then you mentioned the traffic studies, the county engineer's asking for that curb cut, and they're saying,
Correct.
all right, so you're doing that.
Correct.
And then again, in case continuing, the county engineer's asking all driveways abutting to Auburn Road shall be constructed with asphalt, concrete within the county right of way.
Absolutely, right. And we actually had the civil engineer and I had a conference call, a small conference call with a representative from the county as well, and went over every one of these issues as well. So we're pretty well informed about them.
The detention, they're indicating that the impervious, due to the reduced impervious surface, stormwater retention is adequate. General stormwater best management practice will be required to control sediment.
Absolutely, right.
And then revise stormwater plans accordingly to address the items outlined in this report up to the Lake County Stormwater Management Department. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's it for the site plan, and then I think you had mentioned, but just to recap, with respect to the design, is that the parapet shall screen the mechanical equipment. You said you're going to extend the corrugated metal to include, that's what you mentioned earlier,
Correct,
correct?
yes. Mhm.
Do you want to do these separately, or
Yeah, we'll do two.
site and design?
Is that
Separate,
site and
separate
design?
motion.
Yes, separate motions.
okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we, a motion that we conditionally approve site plan review application number 037, assuming all 8 conditions listed by the staff are adequately addressed.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have a motion for the design review.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we conditionally approve the design review with the following condition is noted in the staff report.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, moving along to the next meeting agenda item, we have a public hearing for zoning amendment application 1018-4 by Summers Real Estate Group for a zoning map amendment to 8.636 acres of land on Concord Hamden Road, permanent parcels number 08-A-13 013-0-00-002-0 and 08-A-013-0-00-003 and 0 from Town Hall neighborhood to residential R1. Mr. Summers.
Good evening, Richard Summers, 10585 Chardon, or Somerset Drive, Chardon, Ohio. This rezoning request is for approximately 6.5 acres located on the south side of Concord-Hamden Road between Ravenna Road and Hunting Lake Drive. You may remember that we were in here some months back, I believe in April. We requested a text amendment change in the Town Hall neighborhood, which was ultimately denied by the trustees. We since went to and have worked with the neighbors. We've discussed how we might develop this at a lesser density, and what we're doing tonight is asking for a rezoning recommendation to the trustees for R1 zoning. By the zoning code, we could go to 22,000 square foot lots, which would probably give us 14 or 15 lots, but there is also a 100-foot requirement for frontage along Concord-Hamden Road. So ultimately, we will end up with 8 or 9 lots on the frontage of this property. This would allow us to have large buffers in the rear yards, which would buffer the people on Hunting Lake Drive. We think that this is a good compromise. The sellers worked with us. We're willing to compromise, and hopefully it satisfies the neighbors on Hunting Lake Drive.
You're planning 8 or 9? That's what the plan is for 8 or 9?
Correct. 8 or 9 lots. According to, again, once we get the rezoning approved, then we would go in and have either a major or minor subdivision done and a plan approved. The one thing that Dave Radacci and I from Lake County Planning discussed is that the code does allow shared driveways, so the hope is that we don't end up with 8 driveways on Concord-Hamden. We're going to look at possibly doing 2, a left and a right drive that would come out to 1 drive, rather than have 4 rather than 8 driveways, maybe even less. But that would be worked on after rezoning is granted. But that's our intention, is to minimize the driveways.
Okay.
There are actually 2 parcels shown here, but you're looking at it all as one?
Well, we're asking that both parcels be rezoned, and then what we would ultimately do would be to split it up and, you know, through the Lake County Planning Commission process, create 8 or 9 lots.
Okay, thank you.
Would also note that our intention is, before the end of the year, to tear down the house. It's become an eyesore. It appears that somebody took some aluminum siding up, and it's pretty bad, so our intention is right after we close to get that torn down and cleaned up.
Okay.
Thank you. If you have any other questions, I can step back.
Yeah. I will take a minute to, actually, public hearing, why don't we have anybody that'd like to speak on this matter come forward?
Good evening. This is Glebe, Ron Glebe, 7223 Hunting Lake Drive. We have talked with Mr. Summers. Obviously, this proposal with the 8 or 9 lots is considerably better than what we were told in the last proposal. The neighbors, yes, are much more easy to accept this kind of building. However, there is a couple of issues that are still present, and one of it is the flooding of that property. I don't know if I presented to you people previously pictures that was taken of that property, but it has standing water almost constantly. The property basically runs on an angle from Concord-Hamden back towards Hunting Lake Drive, where we live. Those are my concerns. I have pictures if you're interested of the flooding back there. I don't know if you're the commission to talk to about that, but those are our concerns. Now that the concern is gone with the multiple housing, high density, the flooding is a concern, obviously buffering, and the rest of the things that go with it. So are you interested in that, or is that a trustee concern? the flooding.
That's not before the board.
I'm sorry?
That's not before you guys. I mean, it's just a,
Right, well, I mean, I think your input is valuable and we want to hear that. So that's, I think you brought an issue forward, it's a concern, we've heard it, as far as we can't really do anything about the zoning, we're just looking
Okay.
at the zoning, so, if you've got anything else to add, is along the lines, we're here to hear what your input is, you've stated, is there anything else you'd like to
No,
add?
there's no other issues that,
So you're
I'm only
concerned,
speaking for one neighbor, but there's no other issues that we have currently.
okay, so your concern is the water runoff and flooding?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Make sure that's addressed moving forward. Okay? Thank you.
I'm Denise Brewster, 7207 Alexander Road. And I've been following this situation for a little while, and I've been in touch with Mr. Summers throughout the entire process. And at this point, I think he has come forward with something that's very reasonable, addresses the needs of everyone that had expressed concerns in the past. And so we applaud him for having the lower density. It was obvious that the residents in Quail preferred residential to something else going in there that might not be in keeping with backing up to their properties. So at this point in the conversations I've had as this project develops, we've been assured that, there will be great respect paid to rear and side yard clearances, which I know is not part of this tonight. But as far as the issues of flooding, we have talked about that. Evidently, there was some small pond on there at one point, but it's also my understanding that there is some drainage that's blocked currently, in talking with Mr. Summers by the nursery that's next door. So I'm sure throughout the process this is going to be policed to make sure that there's proper drainage and that won't be a concern to the residents. But I am in favor of the rezoning. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here this evening that wants to come forward? Any discussion?
I have a question. Mr. Summers, just a question, given the concern about the flooding, what is your position on that?
We've now studied the property. There is a ditch in this, basically directly in the center of the property. And at one time, Mrs. Spear did allow the fellow on the corner to plant his, basically just, they call it step in, just put his nursery stock in rows, and you can still see evidence of it. He's also encroaching on the property, well into the property about 100 feet. And it appears that that drainage ditch became blocked and is backing up into the woods behind the Glebe residence and a couple other residents on Hunting Lake. We obviously will, again, take care of the drainage as soon as we own the property, and this would also be part of the plan that would be reviewed by the Lake County engineer, and that drainage would be addressed. We will probably be putting some kind of yard drains in, and basically the standard engineering protocol for a new subdivision.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I do need to read into the record this evening a letter that the township received regarding this from the Lake County Planning Board, stated October 31st, addressed to Ms. Heather Freeman, Zoning Inspector, Concord Township, from David Rajashi. Dear Mrs. Freeman, the Lake County Planning Commission took under consideration the above-mentioned zoning district change at their regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, October 30th, 2018. The Lake County Planning Commission recommended that the district amendment be approved with no additional stipulations. We are available to help with any respect of this recommendation. If you have any questions, please feel free to call David Rajashi, Director, or Joseph Rose, Planner 1. So just enter that one into the record. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we provide a recommendation to the trustees on approval of the changing or rezoning from THN district to R1 residential.
Second?
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we've got to catch up on some approval of zoning commission meeting minutes. Our first minutes to approve over the September 4th meeting of 2018. And a motion to approve.
I have to abstain, I wasn't
Oh,
here.
you went there.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes of September 4th, 2018 as written.
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
None opposed. Okay, and for the meeting of October 2nd, 2018.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we approve the minutes for the October 2nd, 2018 meeting as written.
And a second?
Second.
Go ahead.
I'll
Frank
second.
wins. All in favor?
Frank wins.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Correspondence, Rich?
I had none.
Sue? Harold?
None.
Mike? The audience left. I just mean there's no participation tonight. Next scheduled zoning commission meeting would be December 4th, 2018. And with that, adjourn the meeting.
Good.